Welcome all. I'm really excited today to have our guest, Rob Rains. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Rachel Jones, and I'm a sales coach for service and software businesses across the US. Now, Rob, we met at a networking event a couple of weeks ago, and you caught my ear with your slogan. Can you share a little bit about you and your company?
You bet. I'm Rob. I'm with Certissima Technologies. I'm one of the founders, and we're a managed IT services company. And the slogan that I shared with Rachel was that we take the SH out of IT.
It's a brilliant slogan. I loved every bit of it. I was giggling on that one for a couple of days. Now, out of curiosity, if there's anybody that's watching that has tech questions or IT questions, I'd invite them to put it in the chat while we go through, so that way Rob can answer it. But Rob, what started you on your IT tech journey?
Sure. So about 25 years ago plus, I was inspired by my younger brother, Sean. He had gotten into IT and had made quite a nice living for himself and was just doing great work. He enjoyed the work, and I was quite inspired by him and went to the same technical school that he had gone to, and then proceeded to work in the IT field. I had, and kind of as a bit of an inspiration to me later on, there was a sad moment that became an inspiration, and that is that in 2016, I lost that brother, Sean, to suicide. And so building an IT business and working in it and just staying in the industry has been a little bit of a connector for me. It's helped me to feel still a little bit connected to him.
I'm sorry for your loss, but I really am glad that you have that, like you're kind of keeping his spirit alive through this.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, what part of your journey then took you into starting your own company?
Sure. So I worked for a couple of companies in the late 90s, early 2000s. I did Y2K patches, if that dates me a little bit. But at some point, I was working for a small company, and the owner, who was a fantastic engineer and troubleshooter, a wonderful mentor for me, was not as great at watching all the different parts of his business. And that's hard to do for any entrepreneur. And so he reached a point where he said, hey, our business is collapsing, but some of the clients that you've worked with really like you. And so I've offered them the opportunity to go with you versus, stay with me as we kind of let our employees go. And so my severance package was not a dollar amount. It was 3 wonderful clients and later a 4th. And so I bought a cell phone for myself and started my own business.
That's great. And is that the business that you're currently in, or was that something else?
Yeah, so that was my first IT business. I later sold it to a friendly competitor and worked for them for a few years. Decided I really, really liked being on my own, and went out and started my own again in about 2014. And then in 2018, merged it with a friendly competitor, someone I had known for many years. And since then, we've grown our team. But the company that we have now, Certissima Technologies, started in 2018.
That's very cool. Now, out of curiosity, what fundamental IT management practices should small business owners, mid-sized business owners be aware of, or to just kind of safeguard themselves?
Sure. The ones that we really stress and we practice ourselves and help our clients with is data protection. That's huge. Cybersecurity. And then we offer help desk services. So we really want people to be protecting their data and protecting themselves from, either outward forces trying to attack or from careless employees that leave the barn door open.
I know that when I was in corporate, they would send some of those fake emails to try to see if any of the employees have been listening to the trainings. I'm assuming that's something you help with as well.
It's one of the many services we offer. Yes, we love sharing security awareness training with our clients.
Now, I know you and I had been talking in the past about ransom software, and I think that there is a perception that a lot of companies think that maybe I'm just too small. They're not going to target me. Is that the reality?
No, that's a very common perception, though. You're exactly right. But the reality is that there's nobody sitting back there with an index going, let's see, I'm going to study these, or Googling companies and going, which company would be a good target for this ransomware? So ransomware is very much automated nowadays. So there's literally some amount of AI being used with ransomware in much the same way that AI is also used in good ways to protect against it. And so there are things called bots, little programs called bots, short for robots, that are on the internet attempting to break into different networks. And when they get into a network, they're programmed to look for different ways to look around the network and find hardware, find software, and different things that it can infiltrate, and then drop a payload. And so ransomware helps. Ransomware happens when that payload is dropped, and those files are then locked. They send a little bit of a message back to the automated, of course, back to the mothership that says, "Here's some locked files. Contact these guys and tell them what they need in order to unlock it." And that's where you get people paying thousands and thousands or hundreds of thousands of Bitcoins to get their data back.
Oh my gosh, that would be terrible. Now, I'm curious, going along the themes of things maybe we were not aware of. We know that nationally we just had a big issue with CrowdStrike. Airports were down. There was a big software issue there. What is the things that you do to protect your companies that you're working with from something like that?
You bet. The specific issue that happened with CrowdStrike was somebody failed to test an update before they pushed it out to 24,000 clients, or over 1 million endpoints. And so one of the things that we do, and we pay our vendors to do, is to test each of the updates, and we test them as well before pushing them out to clients. And that's how we would avoid something like that. Another tool in our tool belt is also to have really good versioned backups, so that if a system is corrupted, that we can go back to a previous version of it very, very quickly and restore that and have it up and running in a few hours versus a few days or weeks where business might be lost. That also, incidentally, going to your previous question, a versioned backup also is a fantastic protection against ransomware.
So if somebody had a versioned back, like a history of it, they wouldn't necessarily have to pay any type of the ransomware in order to be able to access their data and just kind of start up new.
That's exactly correct. We did have years and years ago, and we had a client that had downloaded something accidentally, right? And since then, we've had a lot even more complex protections put in place to keep clients safe from these. But in that, this was over 10 years ago. We had a client that downloaded this piece of ransomware, locked up all their files on their network, and we were able to, and it required some amount of thousands of dollars, and we were able to just restore the files from backup, dump the encrypted files, and they didn't have to pay a dime.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, kind of along those themes, I'm curious, what type of services do you offer specifically to help the needs of small business? And are these industry specific ones? Is there what can somebody who's a small to mid-sized business owner, what do they need to know about hiring somebody like you?
Sure. So some of the tools that we offer are really the same in every industry, such as, like I said, mentioned data protection, right? Backing up your data is like flossing your teeth. It should be automatic. You shouldn't have to be reminded to do that. So we back up our clients' data. We do a lot of different things to protect it. We put in cybersecurity protections. In addition, there are certain industries that have some compliance measures. So we have clients that are in the financial industry, for example, bookkeepers and CPAs, or legal clients, and others, nonprofits that have certain things that they have to be compliant with. And we're able to help with those compliances as well.
Okay, that's great. I come from the healthcare world, so I know that it's important to make sure nobody's data is accessed whatsoever. Nobody wants a HIPAA scandal on their hands. So that's great that you can help with that. Now, out of curiosity,
Yeah.
Can you share another story? You mentioned one where you helped them get out of the ransomware. Is there anybody else that you can think that you made a big impact with their company by providing technology services to them?
Sure. There are many stories, but one that really rings out to me is a client they're an automotive car auction place, and they're in Rhode Island, and their phone service was just terrible. A previous IT provider had signed them up with a 5-year contract with a just terrible phone service, who shall remain nameless. And this terrible phone service, they were 2 years in, and this phone service, just so many things about it didn't work. And when they called in and asked for help, the service tickets were like closed randomly, even though the issue wasn't resolved. And they just had a terrible, terrible experience. One of the users, his desk phone never rang in like a year and a half of that time. So this service was just terrible. And so we went to them and said, hey, we offer a voice over IP service. We're happy to replace the service you've got with something that works and is good. And they said, yes, please, we'd love that. And when they got in touch with their previous phone company, they found out that they still had 3 years left of that 5-year contract, and that the termination fee was all 3 years of payments. They would have owed close to $20,000 to this company, and they were a small business, and they said, we can't do that. So we jumped on the phone and negotiated on their behalf. And we were able to work to get it was about 18 to 20,000. We were able to get that down to a few $1,000s. And then the owner of the business we helped her find additional emails and other things supporting the problems she was having. And she was able to jump back on the phone with them and really work them down to nothing. And so the termination fee ended up being $0. They got out of the contract. We put our phone system in place. And every time we call now, they are just overjoyed. They're like, our phones work. They ring. We love it. We're so happy. Everyone's phone is ringing in the right place. And our customers' experience is so much better because of that. And that just really makes me happy to see them so excited about their business being improved by our technology.
That's awesome. Well, and I know being a sales human, having to sometimes, if you don't have a phone service that works well, using your cell phone, then you have clients calling you in the evening and during the day, like in the weekends, on vacation. So having a service that just specifically lets you set up your working hours, it would be life-changing in those situations, I'm sure.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they had done. They had routed around their old phone system with cell phones, and it was just a terrible solution.
Yeah, nobody wants that. And then if somebody leaves as the business owner, you don't want that, because then you don't have the contact that person that left does. But now I'm curious, other than hiring you, what is it that one insider tip that you could give small businesses to protect their technology, or that they should know about in the IT space?
Sure. I think that each small business owner should be asking their IT provider frequently, what is new, what's coming down the pipeline in the IT world. For example, in the past year and a half, one of the big things that's come down has been AI, and the use of AI in a variety of ways to both protect businesses and to help in creative pursuits. And so we should be asking our IT providers these things, because some IT providers, and you can kind of tell who they are, they'll sit back in that ivory castle and just collect checks. They're not really doing a whole lot. They set things up, and they just don't really engage. And I think they tend to be the business tends to be full of people that maybe don't interact with people as well. Mm-hmm. And we really love interacting. We love sitting down with our clients, having a business talk with them, and letting them know what's coming down the line, letting them know what to expect to pay for, and so that they can prepare and really have a great business experience.
So what I'm hearing you say is that IT technology that people are working with, the IT professionals, they should be more proactive versus than reactive when it comes to, it's not like your plumbing broke and then you're now having to call a plumber. It's something that you should be consistently having a relationship with them. Absolutely.
Yeah. If they're not protecting you from basic issues, and you're having to pick up the phone and call constantly, that's definitely a red flag. In addition to that, I would say for the IT providers, they not only want to be proactive, but they want to be empathic as well, or empathetic. They want to be in touch with how their customer is thinking and feeling. If all they're doing is responding to the hardware and software, then you lose that warmth, that customer warmth, and eventually they're easy to replace. They become a commodity. It's when they connect emotionally with the client that that their business is more solid and that the client feels heard.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Well, Rob, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. We will link your website and your LinkedIn to the show, and make sure that if anybody has any questions, we'd still
Thanks.
invite them to put it in the chat. But I appreciate you being on with me.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me, Rachel.
That's awesome. Well, have a lovely rest of your day.